Welcome to the Risk Management Chapter 10 lecture. I'm Dr. Bill Perkins, and today we'll be covering the Business Continuity Plan. The material for this lecture was taken from the textbook Business Continuity and Risk Management, Essentials of Organizational Resilience by Kurt Engemann and Douglas Henderson. So let's get started. And these are our Chapter 10 objectives. First, we're going to examine the objectives of the Business Continuity Plan. Then we're going to summarize operational requirements. We're going to document strategies. We're going to review activation procedures. We're going to identify business continuity actions. And then we're going to identify risk communication procedures. The Business Continuity Plan is the central plan that documents continuity and recovery procedures during and after a crisis. So the Business Continuity Plan provides sufficient detail regarding the deployment of appropriate strategies for the resumption of operations according to predetermined priorities. Now, pre-crisis activities include implementing strategies, documenting the BCP, Business Continuity Plan, and integrating business continuity with the emergency response plan. And the business continuity plan must be supported by senior management and have organizational commitment. Successful plans are comprehensive, coordinated, and adaptable and part of a strategic effort. To be effective, the business continuity plan must be clearly defined and thoroughly documented. An organization should develop guidelines and standards for the proper documentation of the business continuity plan and to provide a consistent approach to business continuity planning and outline for documentation for the business continuity plan should be used. The information required for the business continuity plan can be provided in formats such as written descriptions, flowcharts, graphs, computer reports, or tables. So the business continuity plan, it intends to avoid and include obsolete strategies, complicated procedures, out-of-date information. So these are just mistakes to avoid. Also, unidentified alternatives, incorrect recovery times, flawed communications, inaccessible facilities, unsynchronized data, and incorrect insurance. I'm going to go over this again. So the mistakes to avoid for your business continuity plan include obsolete strategies, complicated procedures, out-of-date information, unidentified alternatives, incorrect recovery times, flawed communication, inaccessible facilities, unsynchronized data, and incorrect insurance. The business continuity plan documentation should be structured so that it is easy to use. It must include all vital information and should integrate interrelated plans. And the purpose of the business continuity plan is to provide a vehicle for disseminating information, ensuring that all parties are aware of their responsibilities. The documents summarize the plan and its objectives, provide an outline of the actions required in the response, alternate processing and full recovery phases, and identify responsible individuals. The level of detail provided in the business continuity plan should be consistent with the complexity and time frame of the operations. Now, the business continuity plan appendices contain team details, contact information, recovery site details, vendor contracts, vital records list, supply sources, support agreements, notification lists, building plans, resources list, and a glossary. And the business continuity plan should audit procedures to use following a disaster. After a disaster, there will be claims, counterclaims, and regulatory implications. An audit trail must document actions undertaken to recovery to respond to injuries. Document control is very important to ensure that all parties are working with the most current plan. Now, document control establishes appropriate distribution procedures, controls confidentiality of the documentation, and ensures version control. To control distribution, each copy should be uniquely numbered, and copies of the old version should be destroyed upon distribution of a new version. And before final approval, the BCP needs to be verified that it is consistent with the business impact analysis report. So responsibilities should be clearly defined, needed resources should be available, and the plan should be implementable. Final plans are reviewed and approved by senior management. And the following major sections are typically included in the business continuity plan. First, you have your objectives, then your organization, requirements, strategies, activation, actions, communication, and maintenance. And there should be one master business continuity plan for the organization, which acts as the overall documentation repository. Any changes should take place only in this master business continuity plan to avoid inconsistencies. Organizations with multiple locations typically document each location's plan in a separate section of the master business continuity plan. Now, business continuity planning development software can help structure planning and documentation. Planning software is based on the experience of the business continuity experts. Planning software contains checklists to aid completeness, utilizes templates to support analysis, and may be industry specific. Software supports but does not replace management decisions. And the business continuity plan is intended to document an organization's approach to manage recovery from crisis events that are of sufficient magnitude to cause significant disruption. Certain organizations with BCM programs in place may be able to continue critical operations despite an ongoing crisis. The business continuity plan actions should be consistent with the emergency response and follows through the recovery of operations. The emergency response plan containing emergency actions for hazard-specific events may be considered a subset of the business continuity plan, and emergency actions to be taken during a crisis event are documented in the business continuity plan. And the business continuity plan objectives are listed on this slide. So first, you're to protect life and prevent injuries, protect the environment, mitigate damages, contain and control the crisis, and continue and recovery operations. And the business continuity plan should explicitly state its assumptions and limitations. For example, assumptions and limitations include statements regarding the possibility of loss of life, the possibility of a complete community-wide breakdown of law and order, and recovery times required at alternate sites. And the business continuity plan documents the organizational structure, including committees, teams, and individual assignments that comprise the BCM, Business Continuity Management Program. And the business continuity plan should include a summary of operations, supply chains, and process flows, the personnel, physical, and IT requirements of the organization need to be defined. This information should be recorded in sufficient detail to enable the organization to recover from a disaster that could destroy, disable, or substantially degrade the workforce, workplace buildings, building content, IT systems, and communication services. An organization makes use of strategies to treat risk and meet established objectives. These strategies are documented in the business continuity plan. And the BCP is activated either simultaneously with or subsequently to the activation of the ERP, Emergency Response Plan. For a minor crisis, the event may be completely handled by the ERP, making the activation of the BCP unnecessary. Now, this slide provides an illustration of the ERP and BCP activation process. Once the BCP is activated, it is necessary for an organization to initiate specific strategies to recover from normal operations. I'm just going to leave this slide up. As you can see, you start with your crisis, moves down, and you identify whether it was handled by initial responders and security. No, it gets passed off to the police, fire, emergency. They're notified as necessary. Emergency actions are, evacuation or shelter in place. Now, if it is handled by your initial responders, the event is documented. And if we're talking of a crisis of a large magnitude and it can't be handled by the initial responders, and then it gets passed on to the incident commander, handled by the incident commander, who may have to consult with a crisis management team, or, if the incident commander can handle it, then the event is essentially documented, and lessons learned evaluated. And if not, and it continues to persist, or it is a crisis of a large magnitude, then the business continuity plan is activated as necessary. And this example depicts a strategy activation by scope of a crisis. So this example also illustrates a method to activate strategies that are effective for an organization with critical IT support requirements. That also, faces, in addition to its localized crisis, the possibility of a community-wide crisis. So this organization has a very short RTO for critical operations. Note that the IT has an alternate data center that can be activated remotely. Critical IT support services can be recovered almost immediately, and the alternate data center can be fully operational within 6 to 8 hours. And this organization is a service industry and does not require physical needs beyond the general office space and equipment. So crisis events in this example fall into one of the three categories as follows. You would have an IT failure, the data center is disabled, building failure. That's where the building and the main data center are disabled or access is denied. Then you have your community-wide crisis, and as the building and the main data center are disabled and employees cannot work from home or from anywhere in the general area. Now, as seen here, the actions by scope of crisis approach for an organization that can rapidly work with laptops from remote locations with electrical power, cloud computing, and internet access. Now we're going to cover a strategy action by duration of disruption. And This slide illustrates a method to activate strategies that are effective for a manufacturing facility with two manufacturing plants, a north plant and a south plant. This business has a 2-day RTO for critical operations, and community-wide crisis events are unlikely, and it is assumed that both plants would not be simultaneously disabled for a significant period of time. Also note that IT has the main data center in the north plant with a backup center located in the south plant. All crisis events basically fall into one of three categories as follows. Operations are suspended for a period not to exceed 48 hours. Limited business continuity aspects of the plan need to be executed in this short period of time. Next, you have operations are suspended for a 2 to 60-day period of time. A substantial level of business continuity efforts needs to be executed. And third and finally, you have your operations are suspended for a period in excess of 60 days. Full business continuity efforts need to be executed. Now, crisis events are sometimes preceded with some warning period. The incident commander is notified of the crisis and the situation is monitored closely. If there is sufficient warning, actions may be taken to minimize the interruption of operations. Exact business continuity pre-strike actions will be different for various crisis events, and these actions include deploying equipment and materials, activating alternate sites, and pre-positioning employees. In some cases, general operations may be discontinued and actions to provide for continuity of critical operations may be taken. To the extent that not all business continuity actions are taken during the pre-strike phase, the incident commander has the responsibility to take actions during the strike and post-strike phase as necessary. Actions follow the priorities developed during the business impact analysis, and they include preliminary damage assessment, recovery of critical operations. Then you have your comprehensive damage assessment, and then recovery of general operations. And escalation actions include activate the EOC, declare a disaster, assemble the emergency response team, alert the crisis management team, alert the crisis communication team, and then alert the damage assessment team. Finally, you have alert the recovery team. A recovery plan and time frame based on a damage assessment is selected and executed. This may involve decisions regarding making repairs, utilizing alternate facilities, and relocating employees. Contact with headquarters and the board of directors is absolutely essential. Business continuity actions within each function for a typical organization include, for operations, we have the following. First, maintain workplace safety and security, and that includes maintain environmental controls, perform damage assessments, assess utility services, facility cleanup, perform and supervise repairs, direct and redirect shipments in transit, maintain inventory control, maintain quality controls, and facility alternate sites. And for business continuity actions relevant to finance, we have activate payroll procedures, activate purchasing procedures, contact legal counsel, coordinate insurance, and contact parties with financial interest. For business continuity actions relevant to the marketing department, we have maintain contact with clients and prospects, maintain contact with suppliers and distributors, maintain contact with advertisers and other interested parties, and then utilize alternate sites. And for business continuity actions relevant to your IT department, maintain IT security controls, assess IT damage, utilize alternate sites, and commence repairs. For your communications personnel, you want to maintain communications with employees, maintain communications with the media, and maintain communications with clients, suppliers, and other stakeholders. And for your HR department, contact all employees, assess workforce capabilities, execute the disaster assistance plan, maintain payroll processing, maintain critical employee benefit services. All the aforementioned actions may be taken by business continuity management teams supported by departments and individuals. All employees should maintain contact with their supervisors. Some employees may be assigned to assist with damage assessment and cleanup. Relocated employees work from an alternate site. And the business continuity plan needs to document crisis communication teams and team members' responsibilities, as well as crisis communications equipment, systems, and procedures. The maintenance program is to be documented in the business continuity plan. Ongoing maintenance requirements of awareness and training, testing and exercising, and maintaining and updating are all considerations. And in addition to these ongoing maintenance requirements, the following debriefing actions should occur after every major crisis event. First, you want to review the actions taken by the teams. Next, you want to review the actions taken by various departments. Third, you want to review the actions taken by individual employees. And then fourth and finally, the BCM coordinator drafts changes to the documentation and procedures for review by the ERT and approval by the CMT, and if applicable, the BCM steering committee. And that concludes our Chapter 10 lecture. Please visit Blackboard for your expectations and deliverables for this chapter, and I will see you in Chapter 11.